Vandeham Shri Guru Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsam.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the 72nd episode of Paripraśna. So as you know, we are discussing Canto number 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam currently. So right now we are in the section of very deep, profound philosophical conversation that is happening between Jadabharata and Maharaja Rahugana. In fact, their conversation spans across like 5 chapters, and we have just started their conversation from the previous episode where we discussed chapter number 10. So today our objective is to try and cover 2 chapters, chapters 11 and 12, where Jadabharata continues to instruct Maharaj Rahugana. So it is quite deep and profound in the way that Jadabharata is unraveling all these profound philosophical aspects of the mind and so many other things. But not to fret, as always, we have Maharaj with us who has this natural ability and expertise to simplify the complex subject matters and explain in a way that we can understand it very easily. So we have a lot of ground to cover, as always. So let's go ahead and continue to inquire from His Holiness Bhakti Padma Saurabh Pracharak Swami Maharaj. So Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, before we actually get into the chapter itself, just one generic question. So unlike the current education system, where the nature of disseminating the knowledge is a monologue, usually the teacher speaks for most part of the class and hardly the students will ask questions. But however, when we go through our Shastra, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and so many other Puranas, wherever we go, the way the knowledge is disseminated is through conversations. In fact, our podcast is also based on that only. So we are trying to divulge the knowledge of Bhagavatam through conversation. So why is conversation a better way of distributing knowledge than a monologue?
The conversation is always better because whenever you speak something, then there are doubts which come in the mind.
Okay.
If the doubts are not cleared, or there is no way where we can express our doubts, then the doubts will destroy the knowledge what you got. Samshayatma vinashyati. So samshayas come. So if there is a dialogue, then you can express your doubts. Then you can get clarified. In that way, knowledge expands. In a conversation, knowledge expands. In a monologue, it is more authoritarian, and then there is no expansion. There is no scope of expansion of knowledge. That is why the conversations are there. And also, when the answer is given to a particular doubt, the doubt is clear. At the same time, it is presented in such a way that there is a scope for another doubt. And when that doubt is expressed, then again the doubt is cleared by the explanation. And the explanation itself is in such a way that it leads to another doubt. So in this way, the knowledge goes on expanding.
Okay.
Knowledge is conscious. So conscious knowledge always expands. There is no limit to it. Whereas the modern education system, it is just information. Information is limited. Knowledge is unlimited. So monologue is good for delivering some information, not knowledge.
Okay.
Like you go to the railway station or airport, it just says the flight timing. Flight is cancelled. You cannot ask why it is cancelled. Just cancel, that's all. It's up to you. You want to take another flight or go back home. That's all. But if it is a conversation, then you can ask questions and you can ask why it happened, and you'll be satisfied. So information monologue is good for information, but not for knowledge, transfer of knowledge. So if you want knowledge, then if you want to present knowledge, should be always conversation. A conversation within a conversation.
Right.
That is how the Bhagavatam is.
Yes. Wonderful, Maharaj. Very nice. So Maharaj, getting into the very first shloka here. So just to build the context. So in the previous chapter, we saw how Jadabharata was just sitting by the side of the road and he was just forcefully brought to carry the palanquin in which Maharaj Rahugana was going. And he was leaping across, just not to wanting to step on the ants. And then Rahugana got angry and chastised him. And then when finally Jadabharata opened his mouth, Maharaj Rahugana, it did not take him much time to understand that he is an enlightened soul. So he comes out of the palanquin and holds its feet and says, "You are my spiritual master, enlighten me." And Jadabharata took every single chastisement of Maharaj Rahugana, turned it upside down and enlightened him. And Maharaj Rahugana, again, he took the explanations given by Jadabharata and he started asking some questions. That is where we had stopped. So now we see here Jadabharata is speaking. Brahmana uvacha अकोविदः कोविदवादवादान् वदस्यतो नातिविदां वरिष्ठः न सूरयो हि व्यवहारमेनं तत्त्वावमर्शेण सहा मनन्ति. The Brahmana Jadabharata said, "My dear king, although you are not at all experienced, you are trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you are speaking about the relationship between a master and a servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way." So Maharaj, here we see that Jadabharata is practically calling Maharaj Rahugana a fool. Akovida, kovida vada vadan. So there is such a striking similarity between this verse and Bhagavad Gita, 11th verse of 2nd chapter, where Krishna also called Arjuna indirectly a fool. Prajna vadam bhashase. You are talking like a prajna vadam, but you are not. You are not a pandita. So why is Jadabharata calling Rahugana a fool here?
Because Rahugana was not knowing the distinction between matter and spirit. Like you exactly pointed out, Arjuna having in the same situation. And Krishna also tells Arjuna the same thing. That you are not a learned person, but still you are speaking as if you are learned. So what is the symptom of a learned person, or what is knowledge? To know matter, spirit, and controller, and the distinction between these three, relationship between these three. That is called knowledge. Now here, Rahugana, he gave the example of the pot, the fire, the milk, and the rice. The fire heats the pot, the heat is transferred from the pot to the milk, and from the milk, it is transferred to the rice gets cooked. Now, he says, he gives his example, a material example for a spiritual subject matter. Now, the soul is inside the body, and the body is of two categories, that is subtle body and gross body. Now, I am lifting the palanquin on the gross body. The pain is transferred, or the weight is transferred from the palanquin onto my gross body. And the weight on the gross body is transferred to the subtle body. And the subtle body, the weight is transferred to the soul. That is what is the argument of Rahugana. But he forgot, or he was not knowing, the nature of soul and the nature of subtle body and gross body, both are different. You cannot compare rice with the soul. You cannot compare rice with the soul, because rice is material and milk is also material. Pot is also material. So the transfer of the heat can happen nicely from the pot to the rice, pot to the milk, milk to the rice. But soul being spiritual and is of a totally different substance, you cannot give the same example. So that is what is argument. So when you don't know the distinction between body and soul, still you talk as if you are learned. That is your foolishness.
So Maharaj,
So the heat which is there in the pot can be transferred to the milk, but the heat of the milk cannot be transferred to the rice because the rice is of a different nature. Means the soul here.
Yes.
That is what is argument.
Okay. So Maharaj, generally speaking, this Prajna Vadam, talking like a learned man, flowery language. So people in general get carried away. I mean, just the previous chapter towards the end, the way Maharaj Raghugana was speaking, it's quite laudable for general people. Oh, good point. He's using logic and analytical ability and all that. But however, the nature of whether it is Krishna, whether it is Jadabharata, whether it is Srila Prabhupada, all these enlightened souls. In fact, I see that time and again with your own self, that you're able to see through the ignorance and cut through all this all these things that doesn't really make sense and catch the essence of it. So what is the caliber of a spiritual master, an enlightened soul, that they're able to exactly get through the essence?
The all the problems which we face, the root cause is ignorance. So you cannot solve the problem until unless you remove the ignorance. So you have to address the ignorance, not the problem. Problem is only a symptom of ignorance.
Okay.
So people come with problems, but you cannot give a solution to the problems without addressing the ignorance. If you just try to address the problem and give some temporary relief, that's good. It is there. You can give and you should give also. But if that is not accompanied by addressing the root cause of the problem, that is ignorance, then they will have another problem. They'll have another problem. It continues. That is the reason we have to find out the root cause of the problem, that is ignorance. The ignorance is ultimately to consider a body to be the soul and a soul to be the body.
Okay.
Sat asat bhedam, not able to discriminate or distinguish between sat and asat.
Okay, very nice. So Maharaj, in the next two shlokas, verses 2 and 3, so Jadabharata is talking about who cannot understand this Tattva Jnana, and he is talking about how the Vedic knowledge is insufficient to actually get into the subject matter. So we highly laud Vedas. Everywhere we say Vedas say this is there in the Vedic scriptures, and here he is saying that actually Vedas are insufficient for us to actually understand Tattva.
This Vedic knowledge which has been referred to here is about the Karma Mimamsa philosophers.
Okay.
Those who consider the yajna process is meant for going to heaven and enjoy. So though for those people, he is referring to that. Referring to those people who consider that the goal of life is to go to Swarga and enjoy.
Okay.
So he talks about it to make a distinction between the two categories of philosophers known as Karma Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa.
Okay.
Uttar Mimamsa, sorry. Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. So these Karma Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa, they are the people who use the Vedas for just to elevate themselves to heaven and enjoy and come back.
Okay.
Then there is no talk about eternal soul.
Mhm.
So this verse is specifically talking about those people.
Okay. So, Maharaj, what follows in the rest of this chapter is pretty much the whole chapter. Jadabharata goes on talking about the mind, the nature of the mind, the functions of the mind, and how the same mind can either become the cause of bondage or it can become the cause of liberation. Again, there are so many parallels between Krishna talking to Arjuna in Gita, the way Jadabharata is talking to Maharaj Rahugana here. So, Krishna also said in chapter 6, verse number 5 of Gita, उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानं अवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुर् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. So Krishna is also saying Atma, this mind can be bandhu also, friend, or it can be ripu, enemy also. How how can one thing become the cause of both bondage and liberation?
So it is true with everything in this world. The same thing which can be the cause of your happiness can be the cause of distress.
Mhm.
Provided you use it in a proper way, then it is the cause of it will cause of your happiness. If you don't use it in a proper way, then the same thing will be the cause of distress.
Mhm.
So the object in this world is not the problem. The problem is your ignorance about that object,
Mhm.
or not able to, not having the knowledge of how to use the object.
Mhm.
So we say that knife is bad, but if it is in the hand of a surgeon, it saves life. But in the hand of a thief, it takes away life.
Mhm.
It is not just true with the mind, but with everything in this world. Even Veda, if you use it properly, is a cause of liberation. If you use it improperly, is a cause of bondage.
Mhm.
You have atomic energy, use it in proper way, it can create electricity. If you don't use it in a proper way, then it is a cause of um, your atomic energy, atom bomb, and cause of destruction.
Mhm.
So what is important is knowledge,
Mhm.
proper use. Then anything is fine.
Okay. So going further here, when he's talking about the mind, so this is the fourth verse. As long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. It simply expands its jurisdiction of pious and impious activities by using the senses. The result is that the living entity remains in the material world to enjoy and suffer pleasures and pains due to material activity. I'll just read the next one also. Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. So, Maharaj, Jadabharata is talking about how a mind influenced by the three gunas, it is the cause of the soul transmigrating from one body to another, repeated birth and death. So, I just, again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, third chapter here, 42nd shloka. Indriyani paranyahor indriyebhyah param manah manasastu para buddher yo buddhesh paratastu saha. Just read the translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So Krishna here nicely gave the hierarchy. And the highest is the soul. Mind is a couple of levels below the soul. So how come mind, although it is lower in the hierarchy, how has that become so powerful that he is able to condition the soul?
The Manaya Manusyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayoho. Actually, bondage is not for the soul. Though we say conditioned soul, it is actually conditioned state of consciousness.
Okay.
So the mind cannot bind the soul. My soul is beyond mind, intelligence. It is spiritual, totally spiritual. But what happens is, from the soul, there is a light emanating from it called consciousness. And this consciousness is mixed with the modes of nature, gunas. So when the modes of nature, they are contaminated, when the consciousness is contaminated with modes of nature, the soul is not able to do its actual function, actual experience of being engaged in Krishna service and experiencing Krishna consciousness. In this way, the consciousness becomes conditioned either to do sinful activity or pious activity, sometimes happiness, sometimes misery, and gets entangled in this world. So the soul is not bound. What is bound is actually the consciousness.
But consciousness is just a symptom of the soul, isn't it, Maharaj?
Yes. Like, to give you an example, there is a tube light, white color tube light. And now it is emanating white light. But you put one red color transparent paper on the tube light. Now tell me, what is contaminated, the soul or the light? Or the bulb or the light?
The light emanating from the bulb.
The bulb is as it is. There is no change in the bulb.
Okay.
What the transparent red paper can do is only contaminate the light emanating and make you experience that it is red light.
Got it. Okay.
But the tube light is as it is. Then you may say, then what is the problem with the tube light? Yes, the problem is that the tube light is not able to project itself as a tube light, white light. It's not perceived like that. So there is a subtle difference between the soul and the consciousness, like the bulb and the light.
Okay. Nicely explained, Maharaj. And Maharaj, here in this fifth shloka, which is the translation I already read, because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. Can you elaborate on this, Maharaj? How it is subjected to the transformations of lust and anger?
The mind, it is having the previous impressions. The previous impressions are there in the mind. So depending on those previous impressions, the mind goes on acting. So what is that impression? That is goodness, one. Other is passion and ignorance. So because of goodness, there are pious impressions, pious activities. And because of passion and ignorance, there are sinful tendencies. So in this way, both are material, whether it is pious or impious, both are material. In this way, sometimes we do pious activities and go to higher planetary systems, and sometimes we do impious activities and go to lower planetary systems. In this way, the mind, whether it is pious or impious impressions, both are same. That is the purpose of this fifth verse. So because there are some people who think that being pious is spiritual. No, being pious is no spirituality.
Okay. And in the same translation, Maharaj, if you can also elaborate on, there are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. So how is the mind the chief here? And also in the same context, we talk so much about control the senses, But is sense control ever possible without mind control, given that mind is the chief of it?
The mind is the chief is because yan manonu vidhiyate. The senses become active wherever the mind focuses on.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you're walking on the street in the night and your eyes are open, and you are seeing there is a big drainage. The lid is open and there is a big hole, manhole.
Mm-hmm.
But you just watched a movie and your mind is focusing on something else.
Mm-hmm.
Though your eyes are open, you still fall.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Though you are seeing, you are not seeing because the mind is not focused. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yan manonu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajna. Though your ears are open, but if your mind is not focused on the ear, then you will not hear. That is why the mind is the chief of all the senses, because wherever the mind focuses on, whichever senses the mind focuses on, that sense become active.
Okay.
Other senses are inactive.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reason mind is the center of all the senses. That is the chief of all the senses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Maharaj, talking about the mind being the cause of bondage, again referring back to Bhagavad Gita shloka 62 and 63, that dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate, that whole set 62nd and 63rd verse. So it all starts from dhyayato, contemplation by the mind. So is this how the mind very systematically, step by step, creates a prison for the soul and causes the degradation of the soul?
Yes. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषु प्रजायते संज्ञासंज्ञायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो जायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहः स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिविभ्रंश्चात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. This is a standard process of degradation when the mind contemplates on sense objects. So if the mind is not contemplating on Krishna, definitely mind has to contemplate on something.
Yeah.
When the mind contemplates on sense objects, whether positive way, negative way, both are the cause of degradation. What is the meaning of positive way? In the sense that the mind says, I want to enjoy this. So that is also cause of degradation. And the other way is about the jnani who says, I don't want to enjoy. So still the mind is contemplating on the object which you don't want to enjoy. That is also cause of degradation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Maharaj, I'm jumping to the 9th verse here. There are 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. There is also the false ego. In this way, there are 11 items for the mind's functions. O hero, the objects of the senses such as sound and touch, the organic activities such as evacuation, and the different types of bodies, society, friendship, and personality are considered by learned scholars the fields of activity for the functions of the mind. So if you can throw some light on this, Maharaj, the fields of activities for the function of the mind. So what is this field of activity for the mind?
If the mind has a desire to see, then it has to use the eye. If that mind has a desire to hear, it has to use the ear. If the mind has a desire to go somewhere, it has to use the legs. So in this way, these 10 senses, they become the field of the mind. So in one sense, though they are 10 senses, actually it is the mind which is acting, not the senses.
Okay.
And not only that, there is experience. And the experience is because of the I-ness. Suppose if I see someone whom I like, then I'll feel happy. If I see somebody whom I don't like, then I'll feel unhappy. So, though both are being seen by the same eye,
Yes, yes.
because of my identification with that particular object, the experience changes.
Right.
It may happen sometimes that the same object, once which gave you happiness and you felt, oh, so wonderful, the same object becomes, oh, it is horrible because of your identification. So, in this way, ahankara, identification is ahankara. So, the 5 knowledge gaining senses, 5 working senses, plus one more thing called ahankara, your identification. Based on that, the mind, these 11 things, they become the playground for the mind. That is why it is called kshetra for the mind. Yeah.
Okay. So good that you talked about ahankara. In the very next verse, in the translation, also this false ego is talked about. Sound, touch, form, taste, and smell are the objects of the 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Speech, touch, movement, evacuation, and sexual intercourse are the objects of the working senses. Besides this, there is another conception by which one thinks this is my body, this is my society, this is my family, this is my nation, and so forth. This 11th function, that of the mind, is called the false ego. According to some philosophers, this is the 12th function and its field of activity is the body. So, Maharaj, I was just wondering, there is so much emphasis on mind control. Krishna talks about it. Here, Jadabharata is practically spending a whole chapter talking about it. But however, just going back a few minutes ago, even in your own answer, you were talking about people may talk about gazillion different problems, but you were talking the root cause is ignorance, and we have to address the root cause. So, similarly, here, although we talk about so much about mind, isn't the root cause false ego? I can try and control my mind as much as I want, but if my ego is very strong and if I have all this aham and mama, like Prabhupada is writing here, this is my body, this is my society, this is my family, this is my nation. So, if the false ego is not dissolved, no matter how much we are going to attempt to control the mind, it's going to be futile. We are not going to succeed, isn't it?
Yes. Control of the mind, which actually starts with giving up false ego. False ego is of 2 categories, aham, mama, iti, ajnanaha. So control of the mind without giving up false ego is artificial.
Okay.
That is why the processes of processes other than devotional service to Krishna, they work on controlling the mind, but without giving up ignorance. That is actually the cause of more degradation. And that is what is described in the 2 verses which you just now quoted from the Bhagavad Gita. That is Jyayato Vishyantam sa Sangastesha Vajayate. Sanga Sanjayate Kamaha. Kamat Krodo Vijayate. Krodad Bhavat Sammoha. Sammoha Svatir Brahma Svatir Brahmachat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. So these 2 verses specifically talk about those transcendentalists who want to control the mind without taking shelter of devotion. When somebody says, I don't want to eat sweets, mind says, I don't want to eat sweets. Yes, they are very dangerous. But what you are ultimately contemplating on? Sweets only. So even though you're trying to control the mind, if you don't give up ahankara by practice of devotion, then the same mind becomes the cause of more bondage.
Okay.
That is why aham and mama, You should give up. How do you give up? Aham mama. You cannot give up because you had to have some identity. Aham, I am servant of Krishna. Mama, Krishna is mine. I belong to Krishna. So when you have this ahankara, the real ahankara, that is, I am servant of Krishna, and I have a belongingness for Krishna. I belong to Krishna, Mama. So then easy to control the mind. So without devotion, trying to control the mind is going to be more dangerous.
Right. Yeah.
That is why you find these yogis, they 60,000 years of tapasya and no devotion. Then what happens? They do something abominable activity which even the materialistic people will not do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, now switching gears from mind being a source of bondage, now how mind can become a cause of liberation. So I'm jumping to the 12th verse here. The individual soul bereft of Krishna consciousness has many ideas and activities created in the mind by the external energy. They have been existing from time immemorial. Sometimes they are manifest in the awakening state and in the dream state, but during deep sleep, unconsciousness, or trance, they disappear. A person who is liberated in this life, Jivan Mukta, can see all these things vividly. So Maharaj, if you can please help us understand how a Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, it is not that they are not seeing anything, they are vividly seeing it, but they are not identifying it. So how can we cause that gap? We see things, but we don't identify with them.
You already answered the question what you asked.
Oh, okay.
The problem is with the identity. The problem is not with the object. So when you see the object and identify itself as mine, it belongs to me, it is mine, and I am the enjoyer of the object. See, aham, mama, they are the two sides of the same coin of ignorance. Mama means it belongs to me. This object belongs to me. This person belongs to me. And why should it belong to me? Because I am the enjoyer. Aham. Aham, mama, closely related with each other. So when you identify an object as yours, and when you identify yourself as an enjoyer of the object, that is a problem. The problem is in my consciousness, not in the object. So you have to replace with this spiritual identity. How do you replace? When you see the object and see this is energy of Krishna. So what it should be used for the enjoyment of Krishna. Over. In this way, all the problems are solved. Ignorance is solved. Otherwise, the mind creates so many different varieties of processes of enjoying an object. When you get frustration, then the same mind says reject it. So there are unlimited varieties of transformations which happen in the mind that causes bondage.
Okay. So Maharaj, I especially like that sentence you said. The problem is not with the circumstance, it is with the consciousness. So in that case, this whole concept of liberation itself, is that we are leaving this some physical thing called the material world, or is it just we are getting liberated from this false ego concept, the consciousness liberation?
So even though you are in the material world, if your consciousness is that of identifying oneself as servant of Krishna
Mm.
and using every object in this world in service of Krishna, then you are Jivan Mukta. Yahayasya Harayardasya Karmana Manasagira Nikhilasu Vivastasu Jivan Muktasya Uchate.
Mhm.
You are called a Jivan Mukta.
Mhm.
Liberated by, even though you're in this world, you are
Mhm.
liberated.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Maharaj, getting to the end of this chapter, the solution, how to tame the mind. So, I'll read the translation for 16th and 17th verses. The soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in the material world. As long as this fact is unknown to the conditioned living entity, he has to accept the miserable condition of the material body and wander within this universe in different positions. Because the mind is affected by disease, lamentation, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity, it creates bondage and a false sense of intimacy within this material world. So, the last verse here, this uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the supreme personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So, what a nice solution. So, very nicely, he's saying, try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the supreme personality of Godhead. Can you please enlighten us more on that, Maharaj? Guru Seva and service to Krishna, how that can actually help us conquer the mind.
See, to conquer the mind, the best thing is to what? To neglect the mind.
Mhm.
Neglect is the best way to conquer. Any object in this world has a value only to the extent you give it to it.
Very true. Mhm.
Like somebody offers you a necklace and say, this necklace is worth 50 lakh rupees, but it is of zero value to you because you don't want it.
Mhm. Mhm.
When you have a desire, then only it is worth 50 lakhs.
Correct, yeah.
If I don't want, then you tell the person, even if you give free, I will not take, get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Then automatically he becomes subdued.
Mm.
So the mind is giving you so many options. Do this, you'll be happy. But you just say, I don't bother for all these things. Get lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why neglecting the mind, which is the enemy, which is the enemy, by doing so, you should attack it.
Mm.
You attack it by neglecting it. It is defeated by neglecting it.
Mm.
If you just even little bit give bhav, थोड़ा
Yeah.
सा bhav दे दिया, then it completely engulfs you and destroys you.
Mm.
So we are not supposed to destroy the mind, but we should neglect the different propositions given by the mind.
Mm.
So how do you do that? By the weapon of bhakti.
Mm.
Guror harescha charanopasana
Mm-hmm.
Guru Hari Charanopasana Astraha. By the Astra.
Mm.
So you have to engage your mind where? Not destroy. Engage in the Upasana of Guru and Krishna.
Mm.
So you should think of how to engage yourself in service of Guru and Krishna.
Mm.
By neglecting the different propositions given by the mind. The mind says, do this, do this, do this. You say, okay, First, let me do this first. Later on, I don't care for you. Then automatically the mind will be under control. Jai Hi Vyali Kam Swayam Atmamoksham. Yeah.
So Maharaj, the solution seems very simple and straightforward. But however, again, this whole chapter I'm going back and forth between Gita and Bhagavatam. So in the 6th chapter, Arjuna, I mean, the great Arjuna, what is his caliber? So he himself said in the 6th chapter to Krishna, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva sudushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it seems to me, more difficult than controlling the wind. And Krishna, in answer to that, in the very next shloka, he said, the blessed Lord said, O mighty young son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. So when Krishna talked about Vairagya and Abhyasa, what Abhyasa is he talking about to Arjuna to control the restless mind?
Abhyasena Kaunteya Vairagyena Tiyate. Abhyasa, there are different practices. But the highest and the most easiest practice to control the mind is bhakti. If his mind is not engaged in bhakti, in thinking of Krishna, then the process is very difficult. It's very troublesome. That is why Krishna says, Klesho diktarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam avyaktahi gatir dukkham devad bhrayapyate. So ultimately, the practice which Krishna gives is bhakti, engaging the mind in the process of devotional service.
Okay. So Maharaj, one more question and then we'll jump to the next chapter. Jadabharata is giving such a big, profound discourse on control of mind. But however, just 2 lifetimes ago, he himself, in spite of having reached the bhava stage, his own mind got attached to the deer. So is he speaking from a place of deep realization?
Definitely, that realization is given by Krishna.
Yeah. So because I think he mentioned that he can still remember the previous lives. So that is very vivid in his mind.
Yes.
So we'll get to the next chapter, Maharaj. Rahugana starts to speak here. Rahugana uvacha namo namah karana vigrahaya swarupa tuchhikrita vigrahaya namo vadbhuta dvijabandhulinga niguda nityanubhavaya tubhyam. King Rahugana said, O most exalted personality, you are not different from the supreme personality of Godhead. By the influence of your true self, all kinds of contradiction in the Shastras have been removed. In the dress of a friend of a Brahmana, you are hiding your transcendental blissful position. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So Maharaj, this ability of the spiritual master to remove the contradictions and do samanvaya. So if we study the scriptures on our own, there are seemingly so many contradictions. This is said, that is said, how to reconcile all these things. So again, just like I asked in the beginning of the previous chapter, what is the glory of the spiritual master that they are able to dissolve these contradictions and present it in such a beautiful, straightforward way that we can nicely practice bhakti without any contradictions?
Contradiction is the way to explain the scripture. You bring up a contradiction and then resolve the contradiction. And by doing so, you are explaining knowledge. The scriptures are describing like that only. Like you have Krishna saying to Arjuna, Dharma Sansthapanarthaya, I come to establish Dharma. Same Krishna at the end, he says, Sarvadharman Parityajya.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, the contradictions found in the scripture are bewildering to us. You may say, why the scriptures are talking like this, with full of contradictions? It is because to make you go to a spiritual master.
Nice.
He resolves the contradictions and explain the rasa, makes you drink the rasa. That's the whole purpose of having contradictions in the scriptures.
Okay, very nice. Going to the third verse here. Whatever doubts I have about a particular subject matter, I shall ask you about later. For the time being, these mysterious yoga instructions you have given me for self realization appear very difficult to understand. Please repeat them in a simple way so that I can understand them. My mind is very inquisitive and I want to understand this clearly. I thought it was simple and straightforward only. So why is Rahugana telling, can you simplify it further? Is he asking that for the benefit of us or is he asking for himself?
Initially, when Jadabharata spoke, it was very complicated to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he explained, it became more easy.
Yeah.
But Rahugana says that I want it to be understood by even general people, others also. For that purpose, make it more easier. That is why the same thing is repeated in the 12th chapter also. 12th chapter is nothing but a repetition. It is not a new thing which has been spoken. So to make it more easily understandable, this chapter is spoken by Jadabharata, being inspired by the questions asked by Rahugana, to explain that the distinction between the form of the world and form of Krishna, the qualities in this world and qualities of Krishna. So when you say the forms in this world are illusory, okay, Krishna's form is also illusory or what? No. So by comparison between matter and spirit, the clarity of matter and spirit is brought out in a more understandable way. Yeah.
So we'll see what exactly Rahugana is asking here. Fourth verse. O master of yogic power, you said that fatigue resulting from moving the body here and there is appreciated by direct perception, but actually there is no fatigue. It simply exists as a matter of formality. By such inquiries and answers, no one can come to the conclusion of the absolute truth. Because of your presentation of this statement, my mind is a little disturbed. Okay, so he is disturbed, and next Jadabharata is going to speak, fifth and sixth verses here. The self-realized Brahmana, Jadabharata, said, among the various material combinations and permutations, there are various forms and earthly transformations. For some reason, these move on the surface of the earth and are called palanquin carriers. Those material transformations which do not move are gross material objects like stones. In any case, the material body is made of earth and stone in the form of feet, ankles, calves, knees, thighs, torso, throat, and head. Upon the shoulders is the wooden palanquin, and within the palanquin is the so-called king of Savira. The body of the king is simply another transformation of earth, but within that body, your lordship is situated, and falsely thinking that you are the king of the state of Savira. So, Maharaj, everything he is telling is the transformation of the earth. He is telling the carriers, their whole body is a transformation of earth. The palanquin that is sitting on their shoulder, that is also a transformation of earth. And Rahugana, who is sitting inside the palanquin, he is also a transformation of earth. Doesn't it sound like Mayavada, that everything saying that it's all transformation of the same thing? And later he goes on to say, we come from the earth, we go back to the earth.
So definitely, everything in this world is a transformation of the modes of nature. But the soul is distinct from the transformations. So it seems to be Mayavada, but actually it is not. This is described to explain how all the transformations, everything in this world is a transformation, the modes of nature. Whereas Krishna is beyond all transformations. The soul is beyond all transformations. Now, a very interesting example is given. When I am carrying the palanquin, I feel a great burden. I feel a great burden. So, but a mother carrying her son or a baby is not a burden. Now, somebody is carrying 10 kilos of stone. It is a burden. Now, somebody is carrying 10 kilos of golden ornaments. It is not a burden. So, what matters is your perception, your consciousness. So, there is a distinction between the object and the perceiver of the object.
Okay.
If the object itself is a burden, then it should be burden for everyone in all circumstances.
Yes.
Isn't it? But it is not. That shows there is a distinction between the burden and the person who is carrying the burden. So to establish the distinction between matter and spirit, he is elaborating what he has already spoken before.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Very nice, Maharaj. So going on to the 10th verse here. Since this universe has no real ultimate existence, the things within it, shortness, differences, grossness, skinniness, smallness, bigness, result, cause, living symptoms, and materials are all imagined. They are all pots made of the same substance, earth, but they are named differently. The differences are characterized by the substance, nature, predisposition, time, and activity. You should know that all these are simply mechanical manifestations created by material nature. Why is he trying to convey that this material world, all the universes are false? Because Prabhupada has said time and again that material world is real but temporary. But here seems like Jadabharata is telling that it is false.
It seems to be that Jadabharata is telling that the universe is false. But what he is saying is that distinctions between these things. Oh, he is a very beautiful person. Oh, he's a very ugly person. But these two are your perception. It is false. Perception is false. Now, you see a very beautiful woman and then say, appreciate. Oh, what a beautiful woman it is. But for a monkey, so you saying she is beautiful, it is only your perception, is your illusion.
Got it. Okay.
It is not that the world is illusion. Your perception is illusory. So what is Jadabharata telling is about the perception. It is false. All the perceptions of what we have about the world is false. But the world is not false. The world is the energy of the Supreme Lord.
Hmm.
You may say, today afternoon I was in some place
Mm-hmm.
and they had a very expensive car,
Mm.
very nice and very expensive car.
Mm.
So I traveled in that and then they parked the car in their farmhouse.
Okay.
Now I was wondering what a nice car it is. But they had a dog in their house.
Oh, okay.
The dog went and passed urine on the car.
Uh,
Laughing at myself.
mm.
So maybe Krishna sent a dog at the particular time to teach me that what you're thinking is so nice.
Yeah.
For the dog, it's a urinal for the dog.
Mm. What a contrast. Mm. Mm.
I was really wondering, oh, what a nice car it is.
Yes.
Maybe we should have like some car like this for the temple. I was wondering like that.
Mm. Mm.
But what to do?
Yes.
It's only perception.
Mm.
Yei bhalo, yei manda, yei sabu brahma.
Mm.
This is good. This is bad. This is nice. This is not so nice. This is
Mm.
beautiful. This is ugly. This is Brahma.
Mm.
It's not Mayavad.
Yeah.
Mayavad means to think that world itself is
Mm.
the object is Maya.
Mm.
Object is not illusion. The world is not illusion. The illusion is in my perception.
Mm.
So perception, that is what is being described here.
Thank you, Maharaj. Brilliant answer. So it is Brahma, it is not Maya. Right? So jumping to the 11th verse here. What then is the ultimate truth? The answer is that non-dual knowledge is the ultimate truth. It is devoid of the contamination of material qualities. It gives us liberation. It is the one without a second, all-pervading and beyond imagination. The first realization of that knowledge is Brahman. Then Paramatma, the supersoul, is realized by the yogis who try to see him without grievance. This is the second stage of realization. Finally, full realization of the same supreme knowledge is realized in the supreme person. All learned scholars describe the Supreme Person as Vasudeva, the cause of Brahman, Paramatma, and others. So, just now we talked about the perceived falsity of the material world, and now he's talking about the ultimate truth. If you can talk about this a little bit, Maharaj, before we go further.
This concept of Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan comes practically in every chapter of Bhagavatam.
Hmm.
Jnanam Vishuddham Paramarthamekam Anantaram tu Bahir Brahma Satyam. Now, when again and again this concept of the world, the perception is false, thinness, bigness, all these things are all false perception. After explaining this, then somebody may ask a question, then what is the truth?
Hmm.
The truth, I have already told about the truth in the previous verse,
Mm-hmm.
last verse, last chapter, previous chapter, last verse.
Hmm.
So that is tattva. What is the tattvam? Vadanti tat tattva is tattvam jnanamadhyam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan. And who is that Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan? He is Vasudeva.
Hmm.
He is absolute truth.
Hmm.
He is the Brahman. His bodily effulgence is Brahman. His partial aspect of his manifestation is Paramatma.
Hmm.
And he himself is as Bhagavan.
Okay. Okay, so now 12th verse, I really love this verse. He's talking about how to realize that absolute truth. My dear King Rahugana, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. One cannot realize the absolute truth simply by observing celibacy, brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of householder life, leaving home as a vanaprastha, accepting sannyasa, or undergoing severe penances in winter by keeping oneself submerged in water, or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and the scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. So this is a repeated theme in Bhagavatam, Mahat Kripa, the mercy of a great devotee. And it's a very beautiful verse. If you can say something to highlight this.
Now, the question is, okay, you told absolute truth is Vasudeva, then how to realize absolute truth Vasudeva? That is a question. That is answered in 2 verses. That is, he can only be realized by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord. Vina Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, without smearing the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, there is no way that you can realize Vasudeva. Because Vasudeva is only pleased when you please the devotees, when you are serving the devotees. That is why we should seek out those devotees. Now the question is, where are those devotees?
Yes.
Where are those devotees? Because if you want to get the dust of the lotus for the devotee, you should find the devotees. Where are they? The devotees are there where the glorification of the Lord happens. Tamashloka guna anuvada prastuyate gramya kata vigata. So wherever there is Krishna Katha going on, then you'll find devotees.
Yeah.
You go there. And here, the topics of Vasudeva Katha. Matim Satim Nichati Vasudeve. Those topics produce pure thoughts of Vasudeva. That is why go to the association devotees and hear from them.
And in this context, Maharaj, I've asked this question before also, but it's nice to hear some things repeatedly over and over again. So although here it is said, smear your entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotee, of course, there is a literal taking the dust, but what does it actually in essence mean to smear the whole body with the dust of the great devotee?
Dust of the lotus feet of the devotees means a service, seva. So by taking the responsibility of serving devotees, then you get devotion to Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, in the fag end of this chapter, Jadabharata does something interesting. He is revealing to Rahugana his real identity. He's talking about his previous 2 lives, how he got attached to the deer and things like that. So why do you think he's revealing his identity here to Rahugana?
To increase his faith.
Okay, nice.
Atmakatha generally is not spoken, but it is spoken when it is required for the person, for people in general to have faith in the speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, based on these 2 chapters, whatever we discussed today, is there anything that I have not touched upon that you would like to highlight as we wrap up these 2 chapters?
Practically, you have covered every verse because these chapters have only few verses.
Correct.
This chapter has only 16 verses.
Yes.
Essentially, we have covered practically everything because these 2 chapters are only an explanation of the previous chapter, what we discussed. That is the 10th chapter. Because the question asked by Rahugana is to explain the same thing in a more simple way, Anjasa.
Yes.
So the same subject has been repeatedly discussed in the 3 chapters, 10, 11, and 12. Same subject.
Correct.
In the 10th chapter, it was ambiguous. In the 11th chapter, it was clear. In the 12th chapter, it became simple.
Yes, very nicely put. Yeah. Wonderful, Maharaj. Very nice. So Maharaj, for Brahmastra, we started off today's discussion talking about the importance of conversation, presenting knowledge in the form of conversations. So recently we all celebrated Gaura Purnima. So I was going through your Telugu lectures that you had given in ISKCON Tirupati a few years ago. Beautiful, beautiful lectures. You were talking about the Sambandha Jnana, Sambandha Vichara Jnana, Abhideya Jnana, Abhideya Vichara Jnana, and Prayojana Jnana that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disseminated to these wonderful disciples. So, given that we talked about conversation, so in this slide, I'm going to give you a few devotees who come in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, if you can just in essence bring out what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveal through the conversation he had with that particular devotee. And it doesn't necessarily mean it was like a one stretch conversation. Sometimes it was a repeated thing. So, but anyway, I'll give the devotee's name and you can bring that out. So, the very first, Sanatana Goswami.
Sambandha Jnana.
Okay. Next, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Sambandha Vichar.
What's the difference for the benefit of the viewers, Maharaj, in brief? Sambandha Vichara.
Sambandha Jnana means to establish that we are servant of Krishna. Our relationship with Krishna, our relationship with this world, Krishna's relationship with this world. These three are the three aspects of Sambandha Jnana. Especially our relationship with Krishna, that I am servant of Krishna.
Yeah.
But if somebody asks, hey, how can you are servant of Krishna? Because scripture says you are Krishna, you are God, you are Brahman, and Supreme Lord is Brahman, both are Brahman. How can you be servant of Brahman? How one Brahman can be servant of other Brahman? Both are Brahman. Somebody, if they ask question, then you have to refute it and answer and establish. That is called Sambandha Vichar, contemplation.
Nice, excellent.
On Sambandha.
Yes, yes. Next, Rupa Goswami.
Abhideya, process of devotional service.
Okay. Raya Ramananda.
Prayojana Tattva was revealed through Raya Ramananda.
Okay. Raghunath Dasa Goswami.
Conversations with Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed Vairagi's Dharma.
Okay.
Bhalo na kaiba, bhalo na pariba, gamyata kata na kariba.
Yes. Chand Kazi Maharaj.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation with Chand Kazi. So he revealed to the entire world that how if you abstract Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, Narasimha will take care of you.
Yeah. Kesava Kashmiri.
Keshav Kashmiri, conversations, Keshav Kashmiri, he told that how Saraswati is always serving Krishna. Not the materialistic people.
Yes. Nice.
Even though they are great scholars.
Okay. Prakashananda Saraswati.
Abhideya Vichar. To contemplation and Abhideya. If somebody asks, why only Bhakti? Why not Jnana? Why not Yoga? Then the conversations with Prakasha and Saraswati, you get the knowledge of Abhideya Vichar.
Okay. So one of my favorite, another lecture of yours I found was Kurma Brahmana, where you talked about how one of the very important verses, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, often quoted verses, it was spoken to Kurma Brahmana in Kurma Kshetra. So that conversation.
He revealed that the preaching movement of Krishna consciousness, the responsibility to preach Krishna consciousness belongs to the Grihasthas, not to the sannyasis.
Yes. With a smile, you're saying not to the sannyasis, just that few people take care. Then Haridas Thakur, it was not like a one conversation, just that because he was also in Jagannath Puri.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation with Haridas Thakur, many conversations are there with Haridas Thakur.
Yes.
But what the most appealing conversation for me is
Mm-hmm.
a conversation which he had while revealing the reverse written by Rupa Goswami about
Oh,
the sweetness of the names of Krishna.
um,
So he made Haridas Thakur talk about that particular verse, Tunde Tandavini Ratim Vitanute, where the sweetness of the names are revealed.
nice. So just like with Haridas Thakur, this is your favorite. Of all the conversations of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which one is your most favorite?
Rai Ramananda.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Thank you, Maharaj. Very nice. So, Maharaj, what is the time there, Peruvian time right now? 10:30?
It is 10:24.
So how can I thank you enough? It's been such a long day. Your day starts very early. Sometimes I see your messages you would have read like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. and all with this. So your day starts early and here you are. You're in a completely different time zone. It is night for you. It is morning for me. But still around 10:30 p.m. you're sitting down and taking the time to benefit all of us by sharing such wonderful wisdom. So thank you so much, Maharaj. Eternally grateful to you. And also, dear audience, just want to let you know. So, just this Gaura Purnima, from the inspiration that Maharaj shared, basically, Maharaj sent out a message, and in that message for Gaura Purnima, he encouraged all of us to take a vow to read the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita by next Gaura Purnima, that is Gaura Purnima 2027. So, for this, we have started a reading club, an exclusive reading club every day, half an hour from 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Indian time. Maybe most of you are already part of it. I had shared it in the Pariprashna group as well. If you are not, please become a part of this group. We have already finished reading the introduction, and today we are going to start the preface. So, what I will do is I will leave you the WhatsApp group in the description below in our YouTube video. So, please click on that WhatsApp group link and join our group. So that way you can also become a part of this, like Maharaj said, Brihat Sankalpa of reading Chaitanya Charitamrita every day amidst like minded devotees. So, let's see if we will really live up to this challenge and try to finish reading Chaitanya Charitamrita by next Gaura Purnima. So, on that note, we are wrapping up today's discussion, but don't go anywhere. Next week, Maharaj is going to handhold us and take us through a forest. And what forest is that? To find out, you have to come back and meet us in the next episode next Saturday. So, until then, take care. So, we will see you very soon. As always, stay Krishna conscious and stay inquisitive. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.